They did the impossible. One explosion, one broken aircraft, no manual, no procedure, no training. 296 lives and 44 minutes to do what nobody had ever done before. This is the story of United 232. A massive explosion shook the aircraft. Passengers grabbed their armrests. Some screamed, some prayed. Many thought it was a bomb. It wasn't. Engine number 2 had just torn itself apart at 37,000 feet, sending fragments tearing through every hydraulic system on the plane. In the cockpit, 3 pilots faced a situation that had no page in any manual, a problem no one in the history of commercial aviation had ever solved, and a decision that no pilot should ever have to make. Try to land a plane they could no longer control, or don't. Denver, Colorado, July 19th, 1989. United Airlines Flight 232 departs at 2:09 p.m., bound for Chicago. On board, 296 people. That summer, United Airlines had been running a promotion. Unaccompanied minors could fly at a discount. Dozens of parents trusted the airline with the most precious thing they had. Flight 232 had 52 children on board, many of them traveling without their parents. In seat 38H, near the back of the plane, a 9-year-old boy named Sruli is settling in alone. His parents walked him to the gate, said their goodbyes, and handed him to the flight attendants. It's his first time flying by himself. He's anxious. He doesn't know anyone on board. A few rows away, a woman named Francie is holding her 6-year-old son Brandon close. Her other son, Spencer, is just 3 years old. His birthday is in 30 days. Her husband and their twin brother stayed home. And somewhere in the passenger cabin, an off-duty United Airlines pilot named Dennis Fitch is relaxing in his seat, heading home after a work trip. He doesn't know it yet, but before this flight is over, he will have to make a choice that very few people ever face. In the cockpit, Captain Al Haynes, 57 years old, over 29,000 flight hours, 3 decades of commercial aviation. First Officer William Records, Flight Engineer Dudley Dvorak. The sky over Iowa is clear. The flight is smooth. Nobody on board has any reason to be afraid. At 3:16 p.m., somewhere over Iowa, the sky is still clear. Then, without warning, a massive explosion tears through the tail of the aircraft. Passengers scream. Some grab the armrests. Some look out the window expecting to see fire. Was it an attack? A bomb? In the cockpit, Haynes, Records, and Dvorak feel the aircraft shudder violently. The tail engine, engine number 2, has just destroyed itself from the inside. A manufacturing defect in the fan disc, undetected for years, caused it to shatter at full speed. The fragments tore through the aircraft like shrapnel. And those fragments found something catastrophic on their way out. Every single hydraulic line on the aircraft.
Very low. Elevator hard. Rudder. Shit. Come out. You want me to smooth this elevator field back? Yeah, do whatever you can. Oh, shit. No, no. Dig in. Hey, well, we'll have the beer records on that. Well, I don't drink, but I'll sure shit have. Little right turn. Little right turn. Little right turn. All right. Back. You gotta lead it. You gotta lead it. Or it's not gonna work. See what you can see back there, will you? Go back and look out the wings and see what we got. Okay. Back on that sucker. Come on, baby. lost we have no hydraulic fluid. That's part of our main problem. Both your inboard ailerons are sticking up. That's far as I can tell. I don't know that's well, that's because we're turning maximum turn. Yeah.
In a DC-10, hydraulic fluid controls everything. The rudder, the elevators, the ailerons, the brakes. Without it, the pilots cannot steer, cannot climb, cannot descend, cannot slow down. Haynes grabs the controls. Records grabs his. They pull, they push, they turn. Nothing. The airplane does not respond. For a few seconds, the cockpit of United 232 goes quiet. 3 pilots, 37,000 feet, a plane that no longer responds. Dvorak reaches for the emergency checklist. There is a procedure for losing 1 hydraulic system. There is a procedure for losing 2. He turns the pages. There is no procedure for losing all 3. No manual in the history of commercial aviation had ever prepared a crew for this moment, because no one believed it could happen. The DC-10 was designed with 3 independent hydraulic systems precisely to prevent total failure. The odds of losing all 3 simultaneously had been calculated at 1 in a billion. And yet, Haynes looks at his crew. His crew looks back. Just a captain who has been flying for 30 years, staring at a problem that has no answer in any book ever written. Then Al Haynes says something that will define the next 44 minutes. Let's see what we can do. With no hydraulic control, Haynes thinks fast. If the controls don't work, maybe the engines do. The DC-10 still has 2 working engines, 1 on each wing. By increasing power on the right engine, the plane turns right. By increasing power on the left, it turns left. To descend, reduce both. To climb, increase both. It is crude. It is imprecise. It has never been tested on a DC-10 under real conditions. No simulator has ever run this scenario. No manual has ever described this technique. But it is all they have.
Sioux City, got an emergency for you. All right. I got a United aircraft coming in, lost number 2 engine, having a hard time controlling the aircraft right now. He's at a 29,000 right now and descending to Sioux City right now. He's to your VOR, but he wants the equipment standing by right now. Radar contact.
Okay, so you know we have almost no controllability. Very little elevator and almost no aileron. We're controlling the turns by power. I don't think we can turn right, but I think we can only make left turns. Well, we're starting a little bit of a left turn right now. I mean, we can only turn right. We can't turn left.
United 232 Heavy, understand, sir. You can only make right turns?
That's affirmative.
32 Heavy, say souls on board and fuel remaining.
We have 37.6 fuel and we're counting the souls.
Roger. United 232 Heavy, Sioux City.
We have no hydraulic fluid, which means we have no elevator control, almost none, and very little aileron control. I have serious doubts about making the airport. Have you got someplace near there that we might be able to ditch? Unless we get control of this airplane, we're going to put it down wherever it happens to be.
United 232 Heavy, roger. Stand by one.
Haynes contact Minneapolis Center. They are declaring an emergency. They need the nearest airport. The answer comes back. Sioux Gateway Airport, Sioux City, Iowa. 44 minutes away. In a plane nobody has ever landed like this before. In the cabin below, something has changed. The aircraft is moving differently. Banking, correcting, banking again. The engines are surging in ways passengers have never felt before. Flight attendants are called forward, briefed quietly. They return to the cabin calm, professional. But their eyes tell a different story. Passengers begin to sense it. Some grip the armrests. Some look out the window. Some reach for the hands of the person next to them. In seat 38H, Sruli is alone. The 9-year-old boy who had never flown by himself before is now sitting in a broken aircraft over Iowa, with no family, no one he knows, surrounded by strangers who are as scared as he is. A passenger named Richard notices him, moves closer, starts talking to him. Calm, steady. He shows Sruli how to assume the brace position, tells him about the emergency slides, asks him to switch seats so Richard can be on the aisle. Sruli doesn't know why Richard is being so kind to him. He will understand later.
Captain Haynes could have said anything. He could have reassured, he could have minimized, he could have bought himself time with words that weren't entirely true. Instead, he picked up the intercom and told the truth.
I'm not going to kid you. It's going to be a hard landing. Harder than anything you've been through. Please follow the flight crew instructions.
In that moment, every passenger on that aircraft knew exactly who was flying their plane. For the next 30 minutes, the cockpit of United 232 becomes something no training program has ever prepared anyone for. 3 pilots flying a broken aircraft using only engine power, adjusting constantly, communicating constantly, never certain if the next input will work. The plane drifts right. More power on the left engine. It overcorrects. Less power. It drifts again. Every adjustment is a negotiation with a machine that no longer wants to cooperate.
We need some elevator control, and I don't know how to get it. Go there. We have no hydraulic control. We're going to go to Sioux City. And we're going to try and put it into Sioux City, Iowa.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be rough.
So we're going to evacuate, sure.
We are. Well, we're going to have the gear down.
Yeah.
And if we can keep the airplane on the ground and it stops standing up, give it a second or two before you evacuate.
What's going to be done?
We're down 1,500. Pull back a little more. Brace. The brace will be the signal. It'll be over the PA system. Brace, brace, brace. And then if we have to evacuate, you'll get the command signal to evacuate, but I really have my doubts we'll be standing up, buddy. Good luck, sweetheart. Okay. Lock up and put everything away. Here goes the slats.
But something remarkable is happening inside that cockpit. No panic, no blame, no wasted words. Haynes calls out what he sees. Reckers confirms, Dvorak monitors. Every decision made out loud, together in real time. Years later, this communication would be studied in leadership courses, NASA research programs, and aviation schools around the world. Not as a technical case study, as a lesson in what human beings are capable of when they refuse to fall apart. But the aircraft has a problem that no amount of teamwork can fully solve. Without hydraulics, the plane cannot maintain a steady descent. It oscillates, nose up, nose down, banking left, banking right. The pilots correct one problem and another appears. They are not flying the aircraft. They are wrestling it toward the ground.
20 minutes into the emergency, flight attendant Jan Brown passes through first class. In seat 5F sits Dennis Fitch, an off-duty United Airlines flight instructor. He tells her not to worry. A DC-10 flies fine on 2 engines. Jan leans in and whispers, "It's not the engines. We've lost all 3 hydraulic systems." Fitch is stunned. That scenario is impossible. He gets up and heads to the cockpit. Haynes doesn't hesitate. "Get in here." Fitch kneels between the 2 pilots and takes over the throttles. This frees Haynes and Records to focus entirely on the steering. For the first time since the explosion, there are 4 people working the problem. The aircraft feels almost manageable. Almost.
Sioux Gateway Airport is now visible on the horizon, but getting there is not straightforward. The aircraft has been pulling to the right since the moment the engine exploded. Every turn to the left requires a massive effort on the throttles. Every correction overshoots. So they do the only thing they can. They spiral. 4 wide, barely controlled right turns descending towards Sioux City, each loop bringing them closer to the airport, each loop earning altitude they can't afford to lose. On the ground, Sioux City has been preparing for 30 minutes. Fire trucks line both sides of the runway. Ambulances wait. The Iowa National Guard is already in position. Hospital emergency rooms are on standby. The entire city is watching the sky. The original plan was runway 31, 9,000 feet long, plenty of space. But the spirals have pushed them off course. They are now lined up with runway 22, a runway that has been closed for repairs for over a year.
Got the runway in sight. We'll be with you very shortly. Thanks a lot for your help.
United 232 Heavy, the wind's currently 360 at 11, 360 at 11. You're cleared to land on any runway.
You want to be particular and make it a runway, huh?
A laugh. In the final 2 minutes of the flight, Al Haynes, knowing the approach is too fast, too steep, and barely under control, still finds a way to laugh. But the numbers don't lie. Normal landing speed, 140 knots. United 232 is coming in at 215. No flaps, no brakes, a closed runway, and a plane that has never stopped pulling to the right. They are going in.
At 4 p.m., United 232 crosses the runway threshold. Speed 215 knots, more than twice what any normal landing allows, and nothing left to slow them down. 10 seconds from touchdown, the right wing dips. Fitch slams the right throttle forward. Too late. The right wingtip strikes the runway at 215 knots. The aircraft cartwheels. The fuselage breaks into 3 pieces. Fuel ignites instantly. A fireball rises over Sioux City, visible for miles. Seats are thrown into the air, arcing through the summer sky before landing in the corn. The main fuselage skids sideways, rolls onto its back, and comes to rest in a cornfield between the runways. News anchors watching live footage struggle to find words. One of them reports 285 dead. From the outside, nobody could have survived this. The fire crews move in immediately. Survivors begin emerging from the wreckage, some walking, some carried, some not moving at all. In seat 38H, Sruli is buried in rubble, screaming in pain. Richard had thrown himself on top of the boy at the moment of impact, shielding him from the brunt of the crash. Sruli survives. Richard does not. A stranger gave his life for a 9-year-old boy he had met 1 hour before. 112 people do not make it out of that cornfield, but the wreckage is still burning, and rescue teams are still searching. Because the cockpit, the nose section of the aircraft, broke off on impact, and nobody knows where it is. For 45 minutes, rescue workers search through smoke and debris. For 45 minutes, the world waits. Nobody knows if Haynes, Records, Dvorak, and Fitch are alive. 45 minutes after impact, rescue workers find the cockpit section intact. All 4 pilots are alive. Captain Al Haynes is pulled from the wreckage, conscious, talking. The first thing he asks about is his passengers. The men who did the impossible had survived the impossible.
Reporters and hospital staff applauded Haynes and Dvorak as they headed home.
In the days that followed, the world tried to make sense of what had happened in Sioux City. How had anyone survived? How had 4 pilots controlled an uncontrollable aircraft for 44 minutes? How had they gotten close enough to a runway to give 184 people a chance? Engineers at McDonnell Douglas ran the same scenario in their most advanced simulators. Total hydraulic failure, DC-10, 37,000 feet.
simulation after simulation. Most never even made it close to the ground with the aircraft under control. Not one produced a survivable landing. The NTSB was unambiguous in its conclusion. Under the circumstances, the performance of the crew of United 232 greatly exceeded reasonable expectations. They didn't just do their jobs. They did something that, by every technical measure, should have been impossible. And they did it together.
Dennis Fitch spent the rest of his life saying he would have given everything for the passengers who didn't make it. He passed away in 2012 after a battle with brain cancer. Al Haynes spent 30 years traveling the world telling the story of Flight 232. Not as a story about aviation, as a story about people. About what happens when human beings refuse to give up. He passed away in 2019, 30 years after the impossible landing. The cornfield outside Sioux City is still there. It looks like any other field in Iowa. But on July 19, 1989, 4 men wrestled a broken aircraft across the sky and brought it close enough to the ground to give 184 people another day.